that operate at a higher level every time I go try to take it to the next level. We never start with tactics. We never start with strategy. We never start with how we're going to do it. We talk about what the mindset and the purpose behind what we have to change our mindset to become that person we want to be, right? And so it doesn't mean we change everything we're doing, but we have to believe first and foremost that's the one. Some of us don't.
Welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast, where we bring to you the most successful, happy, fulfilled gentlemen from around the world who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their businesses. You will be learning from four-dimensional gentlemen who have cracked the code to the science of having it all. The question is, how can married entrepreneurs with kids become gentlemen, achieve true freedom, and build a successful, happy, and fulfilled life, marriage, and business? This show will give you the answer for that. My name is Alex Ramirez, and I'm your host, and you're welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, Fulfillment Talk podcast. Hello, beautiful people. As always, I have a very special guest, another very special guest, and I always say this because it's always true, and I'm very excited to talk with him and record another life-changing episode today. But before I introduce him, I just want to give a big shout out to all of you who have been leaving comments, reviews, likes on all the major podcasting platforms on Google, Apple, Spotify, and to those who have been watching on YouTube as well. And I just want to ask you to subscribe to the channel so that you're notified every time we drop another life-changing episode. And another thing, I want to ask you that if you get some value out of this episode, please share it with one friend. Apart from giving us a comment and a like and a review and all of that, share it with one friend, because this is how we grow. This is how we reach people. This is how we motivate, inspire, and bless others to change their life. So most of you won't do that. And the reality is that 95% of people actually never take the time to leave a review, a like, a comment, or to share. But the 5% of you who do are the ones who make all the difference. So to you, I say thank you. And today I have Shawn Moore. Is that how you pronounce your
Yes,
last
sir.
name, man?
Yeah, you got it right. Nailed it.
Shawn Moore, and he's CEO and founder of this is a hard one as well. Odyssey.
Odyssey. Yep.
Odyssey. All right. Which and he teaches people how to invest in vacation homes. So he teaches people how to build lifestyle assets, how to make money while at the same time having fun. And he's a husband and a father. And I'm just very excited to get to talk to this gentleman, get to dive deep into his story and allow him to drop some wisdom and some bombs. So thank you very much for being here, man. I really appreciate you, Shawn, and you're welcome.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Alex. Really excited to be here and chat with you and the listeners that are joining us, spend their time with us today.
Awesome. So the first thing that I do with my guest is tell them to walk us through their entrepreneurial journey in 75 seconds or less.
Whew. All right, we'll try. So I'm a little older than you, so that might take me a minute. So I started my entrepreneurial journey back in right out of high school. Was very interested in having my own business. Started a business in roofing. I was a roofer. Started a roofing business. Took it through college. I happened to be a former NCAA basketball player, played Division I basketball. And at the time I was the glory days, I was a full scholarship Division I player. And I got a call one day from the NCAA and said, "Hey, you either keep playing basketball on your scholarship or you decide to do the roofing. You can't do both. You can't own a business and be a scholarship athlete." So really quickly, my entrepreneurial journey kind of got squashed. I was like, okay, well, I mean, that's an easy choice for me. I'm going to stick with basketball. And so I stuck it out and we played basketball. And so went through college, got a job right out of college, and ultimately I was probably only about 6 months into that job, and I ended up diving back into kind of on my own journey. Started in real estate investing at that time and quit my job and have been doing that ever since. That was 21 years ago. So I've been a full-time real estate investor for 21 years. Lots of different ups and downs and roadblocks and challenges along the way as I've gone through that journey. But it started a long time ago and then progressed to just where we're at today with founding Odyssey. We've grown Odyssey now, and never ever intended on being a coach, and it just kind of naturally evolved to where we started helping people and mentoring people in this game. And we've grown Odyssey now, not counting our real estate, but we our coaching platform from 0 to 8 figures in about 3 years, and reaching, we have over 1,000 members across the country. So having a lot of fun with it.
That was amazing, man. That was like one of the best 75 seconds that I've heard, honestly.
I appreciate that.
Simple to the point, and like really clearly laid out.
Yeah.
So amazing, man. So how tall are you?
6'4". I was a shooting guard. I was one of the small guys on the court.
Damn, 6'4". You're a big. Well, I mean, you say you're small, but you're a big
it seems
guy.
big and normal, but yeah, when I'm playing with those guys, I was one of the short guys.
Cool,
Yeah.
man. So, I mean, do you think you were on a full scholarship basketball on a full scholarship because of basketball, because you are 6'4", or is there some trait that you had that allowed you to play at that level? And like at the NCAA?
I think mainly the trait was, I love to play. I was scrappy and a hard worker. I was one of those guys that wasn't as naturally gifted as a lot of my teammates and a lot of the people I played with, but I just loved the game. And I was the guy that would show up at 6 a.m. and shoot I'd go through 100 free throws every single morning before anybody would show up, and like just things that I would do to get better and put in the work. And was fortunate to be able to play at that level, and but still was not anywhere near as naturally talented, or even after putting that much work, as talented as some of my teammates who were just awesome. But it was just a pleasure to be a part of that. But I think that what got me there was just rolling up my sleeves and working hard. So I kind of grew up that way. I grew up in a really kind of blue collar atmosphere, and just learned that grit and hard work, and just sticking with something for the long term.
Cool. Yeah, there's this thing one of my mentors calls the awe effect, or awe effect. Yeah, awe effect. So it's AWE, right? Awe.
Uh-huh.
So that's oh man, I forgot. Man. I forgot. But it's basically talent plus like hard work equals like results, right? Like in like even if you don't have talent, right, you're gonna have to do more hard work and put in more reps. And as you put in more reps, your talent is going to increase.
Yeah.
But then now you're used to putting in more reps than everyone. So now as your talent increases, you're also putting more reps. So like it's an exponential effect.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I was. I worked hard and developed enough talent to be able to do that stuff. But that's life, right? That's what we do in everything. You put in that most of us are not born into what we do. Like I always take that approach, if you want to be good at anything, you got to embrace the suck in the beginning. You have to suck at it at first, right? And you're going to become great by putting in the repetition and putting in the reps.
Embrace the suck, man. That's something that so many people don't like to do. That's why that's why no one ever gets to master anything, man.
Yeah.
Like I still think, well, I'm getting good, but like I think that I suck at interviewing, man. I'm really self-conscious about that. Actually, right now, I'm going back to watch all of my interviews, which I have like 50 now. Every single hour, every single day, I spend like 3 hours doing this so far for the last 10 days. And I've been watching all my interviews, writing down 3 things that I'm doing good, 3 things that I can improve, and just like taking notes, because I'm really passionate about this. Like it's taking me somewhere. So like I want to master it. So but man, I suck, and like I know that I suck, and I can feel that I suck. Well,
but we
maybe
still
not
do
so
it,
much
right
now.
It's not. But if you listen to episode 1 versus episode 50, you've seen a lot of growth, right? I have my own podcast, and I do the same. And some people are like, "Man, you should update those first few episodes." I'm like, I love the journey, right? I love seeing that how bad it was in the beginning, because people think naturally you come out of the gates, like especially if you have any success, people automatically think it's an overnight success. An overnight success there's no such thing as an overnight success. Overnight success has happened because of the years and years of hard work before and the reps that people are putting in. And so the podcast is a great example. It's fun to be able to kind of watch as we progress. I do the exact same thing. Sometimes I'm like, man, I listened to today's episode and it's so much better than it was before, but it's not that great. And I'm sure next year we're going to look back and say, man, I can't believe that, how we've grown. And that's that's just progress, right? That's growth. That's what we're doing in all areas of our life. And so it's such a great point.
And it's amazing, man. Like I was watching my first interview a couple of days ago, and the version that I was watching on the screen as I was watching the interview is like far, like I don't recognize that version. Like I'm proud of that version of myself that it was less than 6 months ago. But in 6 months, I've gotten more jacked, more wise, more everything, man. And it's really cool.
Awesome.
And like even though I felt like, like I said, if I felt like I sucked, I just kept on putting the reps, kept on putting the reps. And that's something that a lot of people like do not do. What do you think that is?
I don't know. I think we're seduced by the messages that are out there. And a lot of the messages that are out there are, lead us to believe that we have to be at a certain level before we take that first step, or we have to be, as good as that person I saw on Instagram, or I don't have as much money, or I don't have as much time. I feel like the messages that we're hit with all day, every day, give us excuses to not move forward. And it's really sad. I think that it's one of those things. I think it's one of the biggest challenges for anybody today, because, I'm quite a bit older than you. I'm double your age. I'm 45 years old. And so back when I grew up, I didn't have cell phones in high school and college. I mean, they were just starting to come out. We didn't have messages on any sort of social platforms that were, hitting us in the face nonstop. And I think that those messages, what they're doing is they're giving us reasons to not move forward and reasons why we can't do something. And unfortunately, that's the stuff that people pay attention to instead of the reasons why they can, right? And so I wish like crazy, like what you're doing is so awesome and amazing. And just talking about the reasons why we can move forward and why we can. And it doesn't, like we say, embrace the suck, it's like nobody wants to do something at not the level that they're capable of doing, but you can never get to that level if you don't take those first steps forward. And so I think sometimes you just got to shut yourself out of the excuses, and get out of your own way and allow yourself to move forward. Don't worry about what all those so-called messages are telling you, because Alex, your story is a perfect example. You didn't grow up in an atmosphere that, that was putting you in a position to succeed, if you will, as far as today's standards or everybody's standards would say, right? You didn't have a silver spoon in your mouth. You had family challenges. You had challenges as far as the country you were growing up in and trying to go from border to border. And I mean, there was all kinds of challenges that you had. And yet look where you're at now. And so what's your excuse, right? And so there's so many people that will say, well, I heard that story, but I'm not exactly, I heard Shawn, well, you didn't grow up like I did. Well, none of us grew up the same way. But you have to be able to allow yourself to move forward and forget about the reasons why you can't and focus on the reasons you can.
Yeah, man. Thank you for like saying that about me as well. And like, you're right, man. One of the things that holds people back is like social media and all the messages that we're bombarded with that highlight all our insecurities and why we're not good enough, right? And basically goop, what I call goop, the good opinion of others, right? So like if a lot of people care and like they get their sense of significance and their acceptance and validation and approval from what other people think, and that's what keeps them stuck. So if I cared about what people what people we're going to think about me if I started a podcast that sucked, or if I cared and I was worried about, oh, nobody's watching my podcast. If I cared about that, I would have never have done this, man. Now I wouldn't have 50 life-changing episodes and have the guts to say that my podcast is better than a Harvard degree, than a business degree at Harvard, because of all the conversations that I've had and people that I've connected with.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And that's the thing. Like I remember launching my first podcast. In fact, I remember, Alex, I did my very first webinar for Odyssey. And Odyssey is an 8-figure company at this stage. We'll do more than 8 figures this year. My first webinar that I did was 2.5 years ago. And I did all my marketing and my advertising. I was like, okay, this is awesome. Everybody's doing these webinars. I'm going to sell my product at the end of it. I started the webinar and there was 3 people on it. 3 people. I was 10 minutes in and I'm down to 1 person. By the 15-minute mark of an hour-long webinar, I have nobody on the webinar. And I just kept going, right? I'm like, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to do this for practice, and I'm going to go all the way to the end. I'm going to give my pitch, everything else. Well, I know, imagine mentally, you can see that people are just dropping off, and I only had 3 in the first place. And the next week I did another webinar, and it was pretty much the exact same thing. But over time, you start to gain that momentum, and that flywheel starts to move, and you get a little bit better at your marketing. You get a little bit better at, inviting people there. And all of a sudden now it grows into what it is today. Well, that wasn't that long ago. 2.5 years isn't that long. But how many people would do that and say, oh, what I'm doing is not working. It's not going to work, and that's where I think that also having that mission and, that reason why you're actually doing it to kind of push through those times really helps as well. Because if you have a very clear message that you're really trying to go, promote and a very clear outcome of who you're trying to help and why, then you can get through that. And before you know it, it'll start to work, right? You can make those adjustments.
And so many people give up, man. And
yeah.
Like
too
that's
early.
the only way that you can fail. If you give up, if you stop trying. And like the reason people give up is like you're saying, right? Because they don't have clarity. Like they don't have this end game, this end vision, this clarity on like their purpose and who they're doing and what they're like, who they're helping and what they're doing and why, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, like this end game, like just having clarity. Like if you're listening to this, and I don't know, focus on like getting clarity, like clarity on who you are, what you want, and who you must become to get there, right? And like that, I think that, I mean, I don't know, man, but like clarity has been a very important word in my life. And I think that one of the reasons I've been able to make very significant progress is because of that clarity, right? Like that drive and that innate motivation. So I talked to so many people that struggle to get up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. or whatever. And I've been doing that for the last 3 years with like no need for motivation or like anyone to cheer me up, right? And like I think that comes from a very clear purpose, like clarity.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Motivation fades. I don't care who you are, or what you're doing, or what you're listening to, whether it's motivational tapes, quotes, whatever else. Motivation comes and goes. Some days we're motivated, some days we're not motivated, right? But when you're very clear and you're dedicated to the purpose that you're really trying to build and the life that you're trying to build. And listen, our purpose can change over time. That's one thing I've also realized is we can have a purpose today that we're running down the road, and we might not even know what our next purpose is going to be until those experiences that we go through, on our journey. It's okay to change your purpose, but have some clarity toward your purpose so that you can dedicate yourself to that. Because to your point, waking up at 6 a.m., jumping in a cold shower or doing your workouts or doing all those things, sometimes that's hard. And some days we're motivated to do it, but a lot of days we're not. And there's a lot of days we wake up and we're like, man, I'm not really motivated to do that. But if I know exactly why I'm doing it, what the purpose is, and I'm dedicated to that purpose, then it makes it a lot easier to move forward.
100%. So man, let's see. An idea came to my mind that I wanted to like discuss. I don't know why that idea came, but the other day, I was talking to my stepdad. He's 40. I think he's like 45 as well.
Yeah.
He like works, but he basically said, man, that he had accomplished everything that he ever wanted in his life. Because I don't remember what the question was that I asked, but I asked something along the lines of like, what do you wish like for your life? Like something like that, right? And he said like nothing. He said, like I've accomplished everything that I've ever wanted in my life, which is like having a Jeep, having a boat, and like that's it. And it was like, holy shit. Like I didn't tell him anything because like, he's not going to understand. And then we're going to get in an argument, right? And like, and then his mindset and like, yeah, just like his levels of consciousness. But man, like it was, like he got to a mountain that was like really little, and that's it. Now what?
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
he's going to like be dying slowly because he has no other mountain that he's climbing, and so like what's your take on that?
Yeah. When you said it, my initial reaction was how sad.
Yeah.
I would hate to see somebody think that I'm
That's
here.
it.
I've got everything I want to your exact point. And this might not be what he was really referring to, but let's pick it apart as one, your accomplishments should not be tied to things, right? You've got accomplishments in many different areas of our life. You've got, your finances are one possibly, but once you reach those goals, but then you've got health and relationships and, your spirituality, whatever you believe with all that stuff, there's all different areas of growth in our life that are very important. Right. And I feel like to your point, the mountaintop always changes. The mountaintop is always going to be like a mountain. Like we should strive for things and goals and everything else, but that should always be changing. I can't imagine a life without growth, period.
Without purpose, without aiming for something, right?
Yeah. I can't, so my initial reaction was when you were saying that was, man, that's sad. I would love, somebody to just always be like, because to your point, when you feel like you're there, now all of a sudden, what's the purpose? What's the reason? And he might have just taken it more of as a surface question, and maybe we're diving in a lot deeper than he had a chance to, maybe if he really thought about it, because we're never really we're never going to arrive until we're in the ground, right? I mean, there's always we should always be growing in those areas of our life, period.
And if not, you're dying. And like it's evident how he's dying, man. Like in the past year, since he got his last thing, like the boat, like that he wanted, like he's getting fatter and like his energy is like I don't know, like I don't know how to explain it, but you can just see it, and it's really sad. And like one of an easy way to overcome that is right from the beginning, make your goals big. Extremely big, right? I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs that say that everything, like all the goals that they thought were big, they accomplished, and like they got to a point in which like they're like, now what, right? And like they wish they had made their goals 10, 100 times bigger right from the beginning.
Yeah, like I whether you like people that are listening, whether you like Grant Cardone or not, Grant Cardone really talks a lot about those big goals, and I love how he talks about it. I think he hits the nail right on the head, and to his point is, don't set realistic goals. Everybody tells you to set these realistic goals. He's like, you set the biggest, baddest goal you can think of, that because as you're going for that, then all of a sudden even bigger and badder goals are going to be out there for you because you reach them a lot faster than you actually think. So, I love how he talks about setting those big goals.
Yeah, man. 2 rules. So the 10x rule is 10x levels of thinking, 10x levels of action.
Yeah.
And once you have thought 10x 10 times bigger, 10x that, right? Because like you're still thinking too small. So like for anyone out there that is on their entrepreneur journey, like just take a look at your goals and realize that you could probably do 1,000 times better. Yeah. Right. And an example, man, is I had a goal of speaking in front of hundreds or thousands of people. Actually, I have my vision board there, like with like events and like a stadium and stuff full of people. And I have this goal, this 10-year goal of speaking in front of hundreds of people at an event. And in 10 years from now, and I'm going to achieve that this year. Yeah. I got on a podcast with a gentleman who actually hangs out with Grant Cardone and the real Bradley, and he's playing at that level. He runs like a $40 million company, something like that. And we resonated with him and invited me to speak at his event. Awesome. And then another entrepreneur did the same. So I'm achieving that goal this year, man. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And like it's mind blowing. And let's see, another thing that I wanted to say, man. I lost my train of thought, but yeah, make your goals big, right? Yeah. And right from the beginning, Uh, I lost my train of thought, man. Let's see. Goals. Save me, man.
Save you. I'll jump in here. So one of the things, first of all, congratulations. That's so awesome that and I see that so many times in our group. Like we start off with the mindset way before we talk about any strategy or tactics on exactly what we're doing. And part of that mindset is, what do you want to achieve? What are your goals? And I always tell people, write down your goals. And then if you're not embarrassed for somebody else to see them, they're not big enough, right? If you wrote something down, and if your friend or your family member saw them and you weren't embarrassed for them to see it, then I know you're playing too small, right? You're being too realistic. And so I kind of start with that. And then I always have a year checkup with our members that we coach. And I would bet you, I always have them do a 5-year goal, a 10-year goal, and then a 1-year goal. And almost 95% of the time when I do their year checkup, almost all of them have hit their 5-year goals in that 1-year period. And it's because they actually defined what they're going after, and they realize that once the way that our minds work, the way that the universe works, everything else is when we have a definite purpose and a focus on something, we're going to figure out a way to achieve it. And just having that focus, like you mentioned, your vision board, right? You knew that this was a goal. Well, there's that energy is out there. And now all of a sudden, some of the conversations you're having and some people you resonate with, they're like, Alex, I love your story. I love what you're doing. Come and speak to our group, right? And it happens across the board. It doesn't matter what it is. You will find a way to make it happen if you're focused on it.
I got my train of thought back, man. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. So definite purpose, man. I want to talk about this amazing power that we have, that like our mind is literally a goal achieving machine, a goal achieving system, a goal achieving machine. And like we get what we want, we get what we ask for, right? We get what we focus on. So like, especially if you give yourself a definite purpose and that's what you want, and like you just decide and commit to something, to a definite purpose, you're gonna get there. You're gonna get there faster than you believe. So like a fun example is when I was small, I used to say, I don't know if you can see like my skin, I'm a little bit brown, right? Mm-hmm. So I used to tell my family that I was going to marry a white chick, right? Blonde, blue eyes chick. And like, they used to laugh at me, right? Because like, I'm this Mexican kid, like talking about marrying a white girl with blue eyes and blonde hair. And then I also used to say, and my kids, because they used to like make fun of me because of my color for some reason. Like for love, right? But yeah, another joke that I used to, well, not joke, another thing that I used to say was that my kids were going to be blonde, blue eyes, and like they were going to be, with white skin. And they would laugh at me, right? Because how in the world would I ever accomplish that? Well, I'm married to a girl with white, like she's white, like her skin is literally white. She has blue eyes, blonde hair, and my daughter looks like her.
Yeah.
Like that simple thing, right? And that's because, like, sorry for the interruption. If you're an aspiring, established coach, course creator, author, and speaker, I want to extend an invitation to check out my free training on the podcast Cloak Track Framework by clicking on the link in the description of this podcast. On this training, you're going to learn how combining podcasting with a rare concept that very few people know about called the Cloak Track can help you build a multi-million-dollar network of successful people who can become your clients, put you in front of hundreds of your ideal clients with your message, coaching, courses, and books, help you become a best-selling author, get you booked to speak on stages, or even making an extra $237,600 in the next 6 months. Click on the link of the description of this podcast to learn about the 4 simple steps to make this work. Step number 1 is alignment. Aligning who you're trying to be, what you're trying to do, your goals and purpose with building your podcast so that podcasting is a vehicle to help you achieve your goals. Step number 2 is leveraging the Cloak Track to find an unlimited supply of your ideal podcast guest. Step number 3 is leveraging the Cloak Track to close an interview with anyone, no matter how rich, famous, or out of your league they may seem. And step number 4 is the content machine, which is the key to tapping into other people's audiences. These are the 4 steps to making the podcast Cloak Track Framework work, and I'm not going to hold anything back on this training. So click on the link in the description of this podcast, go and check it out. And once you've done that, if you feel like this would help, we also have a complimentary, free, absolutely free alignment call to get you started and show you exactly how to implement everything. Get access to the training right now, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. Bye-bye. For some reason, since I was like 10 years old. I used to say
That's
that.
what
That's what
you
I
put
wanted.
out there. Yeah.
And that's what I was given.
Yeah. It's so
Crazy.
interesting. It is crazy. It's nuts. It's across the board. Anytime you talk to high achievers, it's the number one thing they start with. I spend a lot of money on mentors, and I have over the years, and I've, been fortunate enough to be mentored by some really amazing people. The mentors that operate at a higher level, every time I go try to take it to the next level, we never start with tactics. We never start with strategy. We never start with how we're going to do it. We talk about what the mindset and the purpose behind we have to change our mindset to become that person we want to be, right? And so it doesn't mean we change everything we're doing, but we have to believe first and foremost that one. Some of us don't believe we're worthy of that. Some of us don't believe we have the time, we don't have the resources, whatever it is. We have to, in our minds, believe that we're able to achieve that next level. And so I know that you focus a ton on mindset, especially in the very beginning of things, right? You really focus on the mindset and building that belief that you can get to the next level. And that goes back to our conversation about growth, right? That's in my opinion, what we're here to do is continue to grow, and not only ourselves figure out how to grow and get to that next level in our own mind, but also look back and help pull people to the level we're at now. Because we're always going to have people that are a few steps behind us, and we're always going to have a few people that are a few steps ahead of us. And that give and take on that journey is so important. And because there's a lot of things that we can help with people that are a few steps behind us as well. So you got to go both ways on that with those relationships and with your mindset.
100% growth and contribution. That's two of the 6 human needs.
Yep.
And the first 4 are certainty, uncertainty, significance, and love, which they're like certainty and uncertainty, they're like opposites.
Yep.
Love and significance, they're like opposites. And these 4 are the ego needs,
yep.
right? Like the ego needs. And then the last 2 are the growth and contribution.
Yep.
And like most people are focused on looking significant or feeling significant, or most people are chasing love, right? Most people are want to stay comfortable, and be certain, right? They want certainty.
Yeah.
And others don't want certainty, and they're messing their life away, and they focus on getting those. But if you focus on growth and contribution, you'll get everything that you want.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
Cool, man. So, man, let's see. So what made you decide, when you were faced with the decision of either picking basketball and keeping on going with your roofing business, what made you decide basketball?
Being young and thinking that I was maybe better than I was, but I had put, and I really, if I had to look back at it now of what made me decide, I mean, back then I thought, man, I can make it to the NBA. I can play basketball. I mean, this is going to be my job. Roofing's not going to be my job. Right. But really, probably if I really took some time to think about it now, I put a lot of time and effort into basketball. Right. By the time I decided that I wanted to do that, like I said, I was showing up at the gym, and before school would start, I would show up at 6 o'clock every single day before everybody else was at school and practice basketball. I'd be hitting the weight rooms nonstop. I would do I put a lot of time and effort into that. The roofing was just a job, right? I was paying the bills. And so at the end of the day, I had a lot more invested as far as time and effort into basketball. And so at that time, definitely that's what it was, and is probably just saying, hey, listen, I've got, and when you're, 19, 20 years old, 18, 19, whenever I had to make that decision, it was, I thought, oh, well, obviously I've got a bigger, brighter future in basketball, but I didn't, I wasn't good enough to ever go play professionally or anything like that. A lot of my teammates did. And, but they were better. But there was a lot of time and effort and everything put into that. And I didn't want to walk away from that.
Yeah. And then I bet your identity was attached to it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well. Yeah, that's a great point. I identified myself as a basketball player, right? Now I don't identify myself as a basketball player. And, you know, and that's the kind of the point of, as our, you know, as we're setting our definite purpose and everything else. At that time, basketball was part of my definite purpose and what I was trying to do. But, you know, we evolve over time and we start to realize, okay, there's different things that now how I identify. And so it's, and they say that's a lot where a lot of professional athletes struggle once their career comes to an end and they try to hold on too long. It's because they're holding on to that identity, right? They don't know who they're going to be once that's gone. And so I think we all are faced with those types of decisions and those things that we're thinking about, because we identify sometimes with things that may disappear, that may go away. And we have to be able to re-identify with something else.
Rework who you are, where you are, where that you want to be. Yeah. So I'm actually going to be having an interview with Taylor. I don't remember his last name, but he was a professional skateboarder.
Yeah.
At the level of Hawks, that the Hawk guy.
Tony Hawk. Yeah.
Tony Hawks. Yeah. And there was a moment in which his skateboarding career ended, and like for almost 2 years, he was like lost. Right.
Yeah.
Like I want to get him on the show to like talk about the work that he did, because he had to go through a lot of work. Thankfully, he was financially well, right? He like, instead of just blowing his money away, just like most athletes and skateboarders do, he actually made investments. So for like those 2 years, he was financially well off. So he had the opportunity to, you know, like his needs were met. So he had the opportunity to invest his time in something else, like working on himself and like doing the internal work to find purpose again. So I'm really excited about that interview.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's not just athletes, right? There's a reason you hear entrepreneurs how many times have you heard an entrepreneur say, I made millions and then I lost it all. I made it again, and I lost it all. We just burned the house down over and over, right? But that's partly because we focus on the financial side instead of the mindset side and why we're doing it as well. And then we start to realize, okay, there's more to making money. Is the easy part. People think sometimes that's the hard part. Making money is actually the easy part.
Yeah. And because you attach your identity to the climb, right? Like you almost get addicted to the climb so much that you climb, and it like you got to burn it down so that you can start climbing up again.
Yeah. You get addicted to that game, right? It becomes a game. And I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs that burn big businesses down, right? Where they just, and you know, figuratively speaking, burning them down, right? They're just like, they almost sabotage their own success because they get addicted to the game of doing it again. Instead of saying, and that goes back to the mountaintop. Sometimes you think, okay, I'm at the mountaintop. You can continue to plateau and then find a new peak and find a new mountaintop. And that's what you start to want to do. So you can stay in the game, right? Because it is, the game becomes addicting.
And like this kind of wisdom, man, like I'm so excited about my journey because I connect with people, with men like you, men like who are decades ahead of me. And I'm not going to be building and burning, man. I'm just going to build.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
So cool, man. So you went to college, got a job. What was the job that you got?
I got a job as a sales rep for steel. I was selling big truckloads of steel to manufacturing organizations.
Cool.
And,
awesome. So got introduced into sales. And like, what did you go to college for? Like, what did you study?
Yeah, I studied business management, and so I got a degree in business management, and so I got a sales job right out of college and moved to Denver. I'm from Utah. I moved to Denver. My wife and I did. So I met my wife back when we were 15 years old. And so we started dating when we were 15, went to college together. And in fact, she's the only girl I've ever kissed my whole life. I've kissed one girl my whole life. I'm 45 years old. So
that's awesome.
So it's she was my high school sweetheart. And she ended up moving to Denver with me, and met a guy that was in real estate, met a guy that was flying around a helicopter, and had a weekend seminar. And I decided I'm going to go figure out what this guy's doing, because I'm driving around in a used truck and he's got a helicopter. And so I'm going to try to figure this out. And met the guy and took his little course and followed the process. I just put my head down and made it happen. Before I knew it, I had my first property, and I remember getting $19,000 check from that first property that I bought. And at the time my job was paying me $31,000 a year. So I was like, okay, well, I just made in a weekend what, 2/3 of my income. I think I'm gonna revisit and do this full time, and didn't think much of it. I actually went in, quit, and I've been doing real estate ever since. It wasn't always an uphill. It was always, it wasn't always $19,000 checks every weekend. I'll tell you that, but it was a really fun journey that started back then.
So how many years have you been in real estate in total?
Yeah, that was in 2000. So I'm on my 22nd year now.
Nice. So you definitely know something about real estate then.
Yeah, we've been
especially because you have an 8-figure real estate coaching company.
Yeah, we've been fortunate to do that. Again, I never ever thought I would be a coach. Really had no interest in something like that. I got invited to speak on a few people's stages because of our success in real estate. Yeah. Some different people would say, hey, come teach us what you're doing. And I would do that. And a couple of the stages got a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And I started to realize how much I really enjoyed helping people and sharing our process and our journey and what we did. And that's kind of what got me into thinking, at least seriously thinking about doing what we do here at Odyssey. And we still, like, I still am a full-time investor and 100% in the game. But it's Odyssey is one of those things that just has kind of taken a life of its own. And we've had a lot of fun with it.
That's amazing, man. So how long ago did you start your real estate coaching business?
Yeah, I launched it in Black Friday of 2019. That was my first webinar that nobody showed up on. But it was so really since the end of 2019 is really when we started. Like, I finally got a paid customer about middle of December in 2019. So we're about 2.5 years in now.
Not long ago, man. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And no, so like 2 years ago, just 2 years, about maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And like one of the things I wanted to mention is that like you had so much value that for you was normal, and maybe almost didn't realize that, like, holy shit, like a lot of people are looking for this.
Right. Yeah. It was fun. Yeah. I just, like, even when people see my ads online and stuff, we're pretty, you'll see me in my cowboy boots and my ball cap and in a t-shirt most days, and doing what we do, and really not trying. You'll never see me in front of a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or anything like that selling real estate stuff, even though we've gone through that stage for sure in my life. I went through some of that and realized it really wasn't for me. And but it's we just rolled up our sleeves and started telling it how we do it, and people liked it.
Nice, man. Awesome. So let's see. So, man, what do you think about college? Because I mean, right after college, you got a sales job, which you could probably argue that you could have gotten a sales job without going to college. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I tell my kids, or I will tell my kids. One, it's not that I'm against college by any stretch. That going to college for college's sake, I don't think is a great idea. I think it's expensive. I think that there are certain professions, like if you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or something, that you have to have a professional degree to go do, then college is where you should be. If you're going to do other things, I think that you really take a hard look at exactly what you want to do. And some kids don't know. And so I get that they say, hey, I'm going to go to college to try to figure it out. But for the most part, I don't know very many people that actually make any money with the degree they went to college for. And so I'm not, I'll support my kids if they want to go to college for specific reasons. But other than that, I think there's better avenues, especially in today's world, because of the education that's out there now. A lot of education can get really noisy. There's a lot of people online saying how smart they are and how they've got all this, they're basically, there's this entire industry of self-education, which is great. I'm part of it. Right. And I think that it's phenomenal that we have access to that. And that's where I point my kids. But I also think you have to do some due diligence on who you're finding as a mentor and a coach, and make sure that they actually have done what you're trying to do.
Yeah, 100%, man. I was on a podcast yesterday with a guy. This guy was like out of this mind when it comes to like his level of consciousness. And he gave this amazing insight that I'm not going to try to articulate, but basically something along the lines that like school is just like a glorified babysitting system with the tax dollars. And but he said a bunch of stuff that I'm going to go back and like try to learn because it sounded really genius, right? So
I would agree with that. I mean, in fact, my kids, I mean, we're living and breathing that. My kids are homeschooled. My wife homeschools them and they do amazing just because we want to make sure that they're at least set up for what we believe is going to set them up for more success than just I think the public education system is misleading. And I think it's putting a lot of kids down the wrong path. And so I think that it definitely needs a revamp. And it's unfortunate because not everybody can homeschool. Not everybody has that ability, right? And so I do think it's we feel pretty passionate that there's some changes that should be made in the public education system for sure.
So actually, I'm actually thinking about not sending my daughter to school. She's 2 right now. So like I'm not quite sure how I would do that, like, or where would I send her, or like how I would teach her. Like what I know I want is to like give her the opportunity to explore many things, like just exploit her curiosity and like let her decide, go with her gut on like, oh, this is what I like. Find her like innate gift, like what she's good at, and then just freaking exploit that, man. And instead of having her take math and reading and poetry and history and all of that, all of this BS that she's never going to use, if she's good at dancing, get her the fucking best dancing coach in the world and make her the best dancer in the world, right? That's what I want. I'm not sure how I'm going to go about it, but it's cool. It's cool to hear that. Like I just got like some validation from you, from hearing that you're homeschooling your kids. So thanks, man.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. So man, we got a few minutes, and I end my episodes with 5 questions that I ask my guests. So
Awesome.
Can I go and ask you the first one?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. So man, I'm really excited about this. So if you could give your 20-year-old self some advice, not like change your life or redo anything, just give your 20-year-old self some advice, what would you say?
I would say pick something that you're passionate about and stick with it for the long term until your passions change. What I mean by that is I feel like a lot of us go, at least I did, I went in a whole bunch of different directions and I went really wide instead of really deep. And every time I've gone really deep on something is when it's actually had great success, right? When you go deep with something, you stick with it long enough, you're going to see success. You're also going to see challenges, right? And so usually what happens is people are saying, I'm going to run down 3 or 4 different roads. And when one challenge on road 1, a challenge pops up, well, now I'm not going to really work through that challenge. I'm going to go run down road 2 because I already kind of started there as well. And I feel like when I was younger, that's kind of what I did, even with real estate, right? I've always been in real estate, but I would do a fix and flip. Then I would go to a development deal. Then I would look at some long-term rentals, and I would go down these different roads. And every time a challenge would pop up in one of those roads, I would say, okay, I'm going to kind of pause right here and I'm going to go down a different road. Well, that doesn't set you up for really great success in any avenue. You start to become kind of that jack of all trades and master of none. And so if I could, that's definitely one thing that I would definitely wish I had that advice.
Yeah, that's extremely valuable, especially right now, since you could do affiliate marketing, digital marketing, all of this stuff that promises to get you to make you a millionaire in 90 days. But
and frankly, Alex, most of them work. Most of them will work if you stick with them and go deep. And so that's why I say pick one that resonates with you and you're passionate about, because if it doesn't resonate with you and you're not passionate about it and you're just doing it for the money, you will not battle through the challenges that are inevitably going to come up.
100%. And then when you don't get rich in 90 days, you'll go to the next one.
Yeah.
And then when you don't get rich in 90 days, you'll go to the next one. Right. So, that's really valuable, man, for everyone who's like at a very early stage of their entrepreneur journey.
Yeah,
extremely valuable, because shiny object syndrome is something that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with.
Yep.
So the second question is around mindset. So what is one mindset shift that you can share with us that you've had, a mindset shift, a breakthrough that has contributed to like get to where you are right now in your life?
Ooh, good one. I would say probably the mindset of that it's okay if I don't have all the answers, right? To say, okay, listen, I'm not
I'm not here to have all the answers. I need to surround myself with the people that do have the answers, the smart people that do have the answers. Like I'm a big believer in who, not how. And what I mean by that is surround myself with the right people instead of trying to figure out how to do everything. And I think, before I used to think, okay, I've got to have this mindset and I'm going to figure it all out.
Yeah.
And there's such a better way to do that.
Yeah. 100%, man. That actually, I'm about to go to the beach right now. It's going to be a 5-hour drive. And I just got the book on Audible called Who, Not How.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited. That was a great.
That's a good one. I haven't read that actually. I have to look the book up. I didn't even know there was a book that. So I've heard the concept talked about by a number of different people, but I didn't even know there was a book about it.
Great piece of advice, man. Definitely something that a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck with. They think that they have to do everything and that no one else can do it better than them, but that cannot be further from the truth.
Yeah.
So let's see. Another thing was map. I lost my train of thought. For some reason, man, I don't know what's happening. It's Friday.
You're thinking about the beach. I don't blame you. No, that's
so map clarity, right? So we were talking about clarity and getting clear on who you are and what you want and like your passion. So do you have any tip, any advice, any tactic, strategy? I don't know, whatever that can help people gain some clarity in their life?
Yeah, simplify it. I think that the simpler we can make things, the clearer we can get. Right. And what I mean by that is take the 4 areas of your life or the 5 areas of your life that you really want to focus on. Right. And usually that's going to be your health, your finances, your relationships, and their faith, and something that you can do, your higher purpose, or, and really, instead of trying to decide like, okay, I've got to do all these different things to do this, pick one thing in each of those areas that you can focus on and get clear on. And then forget about the rest of it. Make it a priority, and every day work on that one thing until that piece is done. Then pick one more thing, And so I think it's so much easier to have clarity and stay focused when it's simple, right? When we have it, when we simplify what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it.
Awesome. So just simplify your life to like, I don't know, your 5 main like
pick one thing in each of those major aspects of your life, and that's typically people are going to have 4 or 5. I've heard some people talk about it at 5 pillars, and other people that say the 4, but it ultimately ends up being those major areas of your life. They're so important, right? You can't be you got to worry about your health. I don't care who or what you are. We all have to worry about our health. And, we're all going to have relationships that we're going to want to do, better. And whether that's some of us don't have families yet, or we're not building families. Maybe we're not married. We don't have kids, but you're going to have family relationships. You're going to have friend relationships. You're going to also have to worry about your finances. We have to make money, right? It's very difficult to live without money. And so pick one thing. And faith. Yeah. And so pick one thing in each of those areas that you can work on to improve, and don't worry about everything else, because there's plenty of things you can improve, and you're going to be able to grow throughout your life in every one of those areas. But just pick one thing that you're focused on. Like, I'll give you an example. I was with my family. Like right now, the focus for me is being present. And when I'm with my family, I'm 100% present. Like, I want to put my phone away. I won't have the phone's not even in the room. I leave it in my truck. If I've got family time, I'm doing that, because when you're running a business and you're running a company, there's always messages. There's always things that are going to pull you away from all of these different areas. And so for me right now, I want to work on being present with my family every time I'm with them. Once I feel like I've kind of got that down and that's a habit, then I'll pick something else that I'm going to do. And so just pick one thing that's kind of the focus point of each of those areas.
Awesome, man. Let's see. Mindset map, motion. So what's one habit that you have that you feel has contributed a lot to your success?
Routine, 100%. One habit I have that I think is having a very specific routine for my day. I compartmentalize almost every hour of my day. And when I am doing that particular activity, that's all I'm worried about. I don't multitask.
And
Mm.
so, that's the habit I have is having a routine, not multitasking on stuff. If we're talking on the podcast, I'm worried about the podcast. If I'm in my email, I'm doing emails, but I don't check my emails when I'm doing something else. Right. And so the same, I would say that just having a very specific routine and being 100% focused on those the specific activity throughout the day as I compartmentalize my time.
Routine and focused on one thing. There's this book called The One Thing, which is it has science and all this stuff that basically says that multitasking is bullshit. Doesn't exist. It's like some kind of, I don't know, fairy tale, right? Like, so awesome. And then routine, right? So I'm big on those two as well. Routine and focus on one thing. So the last question, man, is around measuring and tracking. What's your take on that? Measuring and tracking. What do you measure? What do you track? Your business, life, whatever.
I measure and track everything. I measure every single thing and track every single thing I do. I do it through journaling. I measure and track daily what I was able to do in those 4 major aspects. I have, like in business, I follow every single dollar in, every single dollar out, what we're doing with, what are we doing to reach our specific goals. When I'm with health, I track, I'm going to track, and I don't track, like, for example, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, but for me personally, like, I don't track every calorie that goes in my body, but I pay very close attention to what I'm eating. And then also I track that, did I make my workout today? Did I, so those 4 major aspects of every day, at the end of the day, I journal and I write down what worked, what didn't work. And for me, that's measuring and tracking on a daily basis. And did I move toward my goals, or did I move them away from them? And by measuring and tracking, you almost can't help but move toward what you're trying to do. It's amazing. I don't know the science behind it, and I know there is science behind it, but yeah. And there's people that have figured out the science, but it works. When you measure and track, your focus will be on that and you will move forward.
Awesome. This is why, so I have this framework: mindset, map, motion, measure, money. If you want money, which is results in any of the 4 areas of your life, or 5, money is results. So if you want results, there's 4 things that you got to get right: mindset, map, motion, measure, money. So that's why I asked those questions at the end. Love it. Man, thank you very much for being here, man. There's a lot of wisdom that you dropped. There's a lot of more wisdom that I bet you have in the real estate thing and all of that. So if I want to know more about you, where can I find more about you or your podcast or everything that you do? Just
go check us out at Odyssey.com. That's VODYSSEY. And that has links to our podcast, that has links to our YouTube channel, and those are at Real Shawn Moore. But you can go, if you just go to Odyssey.com, you'll find a lot more about us and our podcast, our YouTube channel, everything else that we're doing.
Nice. Thank you, man. And would you say your podcast, what would you say your podcast helped you do?
So our podcast it's called the Vacation Rental Revolution. So we talk about all things investing in vacation rentals. And so it's all about diving into the vacation rental game. That's what our podcast does. And typically, mostly our YouTube channel, we do have some mindset stuff, but most of it is very specifically focused on vacation rental investing.
Do you interview people on your podcast?
I do. The only interviews we actually have on the podcast are members of Odyssey, and they're short-term rental investors, like successful short-term rental investors, because they're talking about that journey. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Well, otherwise, I'd be having you on my podcast for sure, because it's such what you're doing is amazing. And especially, honestly, Alex, at your age doing this stuff, I mean, you're going to hit not even close to my age, and you're going to have, first, you're making a great impact. Second, you're taking those steps to really, for you personally, to put you in a position to really set your life up for, live that life that you don't want to take a vacation from. I tell people that that's kind of our tagline that I say on our thing is I say, pick one thing every single day that you can go do to start to build that life that you don't want to take a vacation from. And you're doing that at a young age. And I really congratulate you on that. And I really, appreciate you inviting me to be on a part of the podcast and sharing some of our message and just having this conversation. It's been awesome.
Thank you very much, man. Yeah. I'm aligning passion, purpose, and profits. Like, you hear so many stories about entrepreneurs getting to $1 million and then they're not even happy. Right.
Yeah.
But like, once I get there, I'll stay there. I'll keep on growing and I'll be happy and successful and fulfilled in the process. Thank you very much, man. I'm very glad I was able to find this and that I was blessed with this journey. So yeah, I'm truly grateful as well. And man, my podcast changed my life. Surrounding myself with people, talking to people like you has changed my life. So I'm gonna throw a link just for the Shawn Moore episode, right? That will take people to a free training as well, from A to Z on how to, for free, on how to like start, grow, launch, and monetize and automate a multi-million-dollar network building podcast, just for the Shawn Moore episode down below. So yeah, go and follow Shawn Moore. I'm going to put all your links there, as well as my link, that link for people who want to start a podcast and change their life. And thank you very much for being here, man. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you later.
All right. Cheers, my friends. Thank you.
Bye-bye, man. Thank you for watching the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend, leave us a comment, and let us know. 99% of people never leave a review or comment, but we love and are very thankful with the 1% of you who do. If there's something or someone you want to see on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram at Alex_Ramirez1020 and let me know. As a thank you for that, I have an amazing surprise for each and every one of you who does take the time to leave us a comment or review on YouTube or one of the major podcasting platforms